It was actually like a gift that came to me. I was offered the opportunity to do a project prior to this book called Rock in a Heart Place with Ken Mansfield and Marshall Terrell, who was also the writer with me on my book. And we did a short story along with 9 other artists, some from a guitar player from Ozzy Osbourne's band, someone from Prince's band, a young lady from the Ronettes. And so we each had our own sort of short story of what we kind of have been through in this business and then how we came out on the other end in some form of redemption. And while I was talking to Marshall, he said, I know there's so much more to your story than this short story that we're doing right now, and I was wondering if you'd be interested in doing just a book on you and your experience with the group. And I said, well, I really had thought about a book at one point, and had actually started one with Mark Elliott, I believe it was, who did the book on Barry White. And it just didn't go anywhere. It just kind of fizzled out. The publishers weren't interested. And so Marshall and I sort of got a connection as we were talking. We had come from similar backgrounds with religious parents, very strict upbringing, even though he was white and he was from the Midwest, and he and I were talking and he was like, wow, we have so many similarities. And it just became a friendship with him and me, and I trusted him. And he had done some research on my family and found out some things about my dad that I'd never heard of before my dad met my mom. And I just found it interesting to work with him. And so when he said, would you be interested in doing a book on just you and talking about your experience and the business and what you've been through as far as drugs and illnesses and you know, just your life trying to raise children and all that. And I said, sure, why not? And we just got started on it, and that's how it happened.
You've been sober over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Your addiction, which was fairly severe, at first blush one might think, well, you were in the music industry, and the music industry fed that. However, reading your story, this is really more of a personal thing that really applies to you. What you've experienced in your life through past marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It would be wrong to classify this as someone sucked into the music industry of sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Oh, absolutely.
It's far more than that.
It is. Yes. The thing that I've come to realize at this point in my life is I wasn't aware of how I was affected through my personal relationships before I even got into the music industry. I was completely oblivious to how a domestic violence relationship had affected me, being just sort of kicked to the curb by relationships, um, um, always being concerned about a weight issue that I had. And my mom always dealt with weight issues and had diet pills in the house that no one talked about as far as being harmful. And I just took them thinking nothing wrong with this, and not really being aware that it was leading me into some other form of a drug, that if I couldn't get the pills, I could get this, speed or coke or anything that take my appetite away. It was so simple, and no knowledge of what it would do to my health. And in between all that, the music industry just sort of came into my life because we sang in my dad's church all the time, and never really, for myself, thought that I would be singing professionally. And it just came to me. My sister started singing background for different groups in the Bay Area, and June, who was having her issues from what I now think from a traumatic rape experience that no one really dealt with properly. The resources weren't available to us at that time in the late 60s for trauma, emotional trauma. And she medicated herself and followed instructions from different physicians and that just medicated her as well. And so she would periodically not be able to perform, and my sisters would call me, and I already had 2 children from my first marriage, and was just trying to balancing parenting and supporting them by myself, and I would make a little extra money singing background, and then I realized, well, if I can do this, it was more than I was making on my regular 9-to-5 job. Why not just do that and do something that I really love? And it just came so easily for me, and support my kids this way. It never even occurred to me that it would become this big thing that it became. I was really just trying to support myself and my kids.
And here you were, obviously in a complicated life with a complicated relationship, and you were trying to numb yourself.
Exactly. But I didn't know that then. I really didn't know that then. I thought, yeah, this is a substance that I'm using to keep me up, keep me from eating. But it never occurred to me at that time that I was numbing emotional pain. Never did.
So to be in this position and then suddenly be thrust into becoming a multi-million selling music industry superstar, how does that compound it? How does that play into an already complicated person in an already complicated situation?
I think you're just trying to hang on. I'm just trying to hang on for dear life, and keep it going as long as I could, and not really getting good advice on how to do that. It all kind of hit during the 70s and 80s, and the world I had been thrust into was very much involved in a lot of drugs all around me, and I wanted to fit in, which was then too another aspect from my childhood that I didn't realize had kind of reared its ugly head in my consciousness, is when being a child of 2 ministers, my mom and dad, that always said, don't do this, don't do that, no, 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 and I was different and wanted to be like everybody else, got involved with what I saw around me, and never thought that it was going to just take over my entire life, but it did.
But there was a turning point, and as I understand it, you got very sick.
Yeah.
Your immune system broke.
Yeah.
Was that really, is that where you hit rock bottom?
I think I hit rock bottom several times. I think the ultimate rock bottom is death. Thank God I didn't go there just yet, but I did get sick on the road with meningitis, and that was a wake-up call for me, because I was still a single parent. My 2 children at that time were still young. 3 now. I had 3 now. And the thoughts started coming to me that if I accidentally killed myself with these drugs, my children were going to have nobody. And I didn't like that idea. So I started seeking out religious practices to get involved in, and kind of made promises to myself that I was going to stop using cocaine. The minute I stopped using cocaine, I started gaining weight, and I didn't like it. I was on an eating frenzy like I had never eaten in my life, and it never occurred to me that eating could be an addiction as well. And I started up using again to lose the weight, and that scared me. Some friends of mine were inviting me to go to 12-step meetings. Didn't want to go, but eventually I did. And when I first went, saw a lot of people that I knew there and thought, wow, this could be a social experience. Okay, well, everybody, all my friends are here. Not so bad. And one thing led into another, and I started embracing it. I got into a recovery program through Dianetics, which was part of Scientology, through a guy I was dating at the time, and it cost me a lot of money. I brought 2 of my children into it with me, and I saw my bank account getting really, really low, and I thought, the 12-step program is starting to look really good because it's free. And I embraced it. And that's where I was introduced to a program that also handled food addiction. And once I started following the path of quieting down my food addiction, that took me into other areas that I wasn't even aware that the food addiction had taken me. I got a handle on the food and started thinking about other things that that I could do better, stop the cravings, and then I met my husband that I've been married to now for 25 years, and we ended up embracing the new medical technology in vitro and have twins now that are 22 years old in college. And I moved back east to raise them, and my life changed dramatically. I'm in and out of, all parts of the world and in this country and other countries. And they say in 12-step that being sober is like the peeling of an onion, and I really find that to be true, because even though I've been sober now for over 30 years, every single day is like a new experience for me of things that I start to realize, things that I'm starting to love learning, like reading and praying and listening to gospel music and meditating and just living different. I have a structured life with my food where I weigh and measure everything. I have 3 meals a day. I don't eat in between. I don't snack. And it keeps that quiet so that I don't have to think about some other way to have to quickly lose weight because I want to fit into something, which was kind of like a panic for me during the time when we were really performing a lot. It's changed my life, completely, and I'm happier than I've ever been in my entire life.
In what during this process with your children? So you had kids from your first marriage,
Right.
and your relationship with them is obviously going to be different because you were going through a whole different time in your life.
Right.
What does that mean to you emotionally to look at how the kids from the first marriage, your relationship with them, and now to have beautiful twins, now that you're at this part of the journey?
Yeah.
How do you look at that, and have you been able to totally reconcile with your oldest children?
I've had to really forgive myself over and over again because I know now, hindsight, and with the clarity that my sobriety has brought me, that I was not a good parent to my first 2 children. I've asked them to forgive me, over and over again to the point where they're sick of me asking. My daughter says, "Mom, please, we forgave you. We love you. Okay, we get it." And I just feel like I've been given a chance to try to get it right with the 2 that I have as my youngest. Um, and I see some signs of that. They're both in college. My daughter's graduating in May. My son probably be graduating in late this year or either the first of next year. I've experienced things that I never experienced with my first 2, like getting up in the morning, getting breakfast for them, and making sure that they have their laundry done. And these things never occurred to me with my first 2 because I just kind of shipped them off to my mom. I had no idea the magnitude of what she was doing at that time while I was on the road, trying to keep my kids sane and taken care of and safe. I still worry about my 2 youngest when they go out on the weekend. I don't remember experiencing that with my 2 older ones because I wasn't there. And when I did go home, I was really trying to get some relief from the road and rest and don't bother me. I just want to get loaded and go to sleep or just kind of recover from the road. And it was a whole nother life. And I think that I think that I've been forgiven, and I still have moments where I think about it, and I think about what could have been, with my two oldest. But we have a great relationship. I just spent last evening with my oldest son. He came to the hotel and hung out with me, and he sings with the band and does great work writing. And my oldest daughter lives in Arizona. She practices Muslim faith, and I was with her a couple of weeks ago when I went to do a speaking engagement at ASU there. And my middle daughter, Issa, sings with me on the road along with my granddaughter. And I just feel like I've been given a life that I never could have wished for or never could have planned for. And a day at a time, I just get up, and first thing I do is crawl out of bed on my knees and pray for the day to give it over to God and see what happens.
It's interesting how religion has been an ongoing part of your life from the very beginning, and then you mentioned you were in Dianetics. But it seems to me that the spirituality and the religion that you've embraced right now seems to be a far more inclusive one and loving one. It seems that the early one was scolding you for you're going to go to hell if you do something bad.
Right.
And obviously the Dianetics has its own baggage tethered
Yeah.
to it. But this seems to be a different kind of religion that you seem to have embraced.
Yeah, I don't even know that I would call it a religion. Maybe it is, but I think it's a form of Christianity. I believe in Jesus Christ. I read some form of the Word every day, and it inspires me so much. Oh my God! This morning I highlighted a lot of things that I read in this wonderful book that I have. But it's just good, I just want to do good, and whatever form that can come to me in, I'm ready to embrace it. I don't know what the other religions require. I'm not looking for anything specific other than just to be a good person and to love, as openly as I can, my children as far as, and the rest of the world of humanity. And I just find that it's just something that makes me happy, and I want to be happy while I'm on this planet.
There have been a lot of other relationships along the way, fellow musicians. You were incredibly close with Natalie Cole,
Yeah.
Shaka Khan.
Yeah.
A lot of tragedy, and of course your sister. For you to have endured what you have, the loss that you have, and everything like that, and then to have this state of mind right now, is that why this book? Is this an organic outpouring of saying, wow, I look at all that I've absorbed, and now I'm finally ready to share and maybe help?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Because in no way, shape, or form could I have imagined that my life would turn out this way. This was not something that I planned. It was nothing that I dreamed that would happen. I am eternally grateful and excited. That's why we even chose this title for the book, Still So Excited, because I feel like I'm more excited in my life right now than I've ever been, because each day for me is a new excitement of what it's going to bring with this book, sharing it, and hopefully I can help someone that might be in trouble with drugs or whatever substance may be holding them back from their full potential, that it's not too late, I never thought that I would be doing what I'm doing right now today. I really didn't. I didn't know which way it was going to go, actually. A couple of years ago, I was even stricken with a blood clot in my lung. And that was a whole nother experience of surrender for me, like the meningitis illness was. I thought, okay, this is 2 times now. And they even at that point, they thought that I had some kind of cancerous cyst in my body, and they said, we're going to have to open you up and find out what's going on. And I called in my sisters to come back east because I didn't know which way it was going to go. And that was a point when I said, okay, God, you've got me. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's in there. I don't know how I've damaged my body with the early uses of, substances that I did. But I'm going to turn it over to you and see what happens. And when I woke up out from the surgery, my youngest daughter, Allie, was standing over me saying, Mom, they didn't find anything. There's no cancer. You're fine, Mom. And I was like, oh, I'm awake. Okay. And I think days after that, when I went back home, and I was in my car where I love to be so many days because I love listening to music in my car. And I have this Sirius XM radio, and I turned to the gospel station. And there was a song on there by Marvin Sapp called Never Could Have Made It. And I play it every once in a while just so I can relive that moment. I had literally had to pull the car over on the side of the road and cry, and I was in that car praising God. You would have thought I was in the church. The words of that song were so much my life. Never could have made it. I never could have made it, without some kind of divine intervention guiding me in some way that I really had no idea which way I was going, because it wasn't a plan of mine. And it just changed my life. It changed my life. I just thought, I'm going to embrace something. I don't know if I believe every single story that I've been told throughout my life in any kind of religion, but I know that there is something that exists in a spirit that is holding my heart. And I'm just grateful.
Yeah, I think going back to something you said earlier, it's an important distinction to make, lest anyone think you've arrived or that this book is a declaration that I've made it. This is an ongoing journey. There isn't a day that goes by where it's not part of the process. You haven't really arrived at that final place.
Anywhere. No. That's why I said every day is like a new adventure for me. And I'm excited about it. I mean, even this week since I've been here, I got this incredible schedule that is, these interviews that are stacked up, and people that have seen my schedule, they go, "Oh my God, you have this crazy schedule." And all I want to know is what time I got to be ready. And I usually get up 2 to 3 hours ahead of time I got to be picked up, because I like to take my time. I want to pray. I want to read my word. I want to put myself in some kind of spiritual mood to be open and accepting of what the day is going to bring. And I want it to be positive. I want to be able to accept it positively, whichever way it goes, and hoping that it can be something that can teach me for the day.
And this is a very personal book. This is your story. And while it covers a lot of the Pointer Sisters, it's safe to say there's another book in you. If you ever wanted to tell the story,
people keep saying that to me. There could be. I'm not dismissing that idea, but yeah, I guess it could be.
But it's safe to say life is good right now.
Life is great right now. I mean, I love the opportunity that this life has given me. I guess it was supposed to go the way it did. I love that my sisters kind of initiated the whole thing, in the late 60s, when first there were 2 of them, then there were 3 of them, then I came in. And like I was telling someone a few minutes ago, all of my sisters are amazing women. And I'm so glad that God saw fit to put me in their life and them in my life. It's incredible.